I saw a tweet today that said that J.K. Rowling is one gin and tonic away from saying that only white women can be women.
Hello, my viewers, and welcome back to a groundbreaking conversation that's long overdue. For years, Black people have been sounding the alarm on the insidious tactic of palm-colored tears, the weaponization of false accusations, and gaslighting used to silence and discredit Black and people of color. Now, palm-colored people are finally starting to understand the depth of this issue. In this video, we hear from different palm-colored people as a palm-colored man who bravely calls out the dangerous rhetoric he's witnessed. Now, the same trope that whenever women of color or Black women surpass their palm-colored counterparts, they are accused of being biologically male, transgender, or somehow less than women. Now, he cites the shocking examples of Serena Williams, Imane Khelif, and others who have faced this same toxic treatment. Now, as we listen to his words, we are reminded that this isn't just about individual incidents. It's about a systemic pattern of oppression. So let's get into this crucial conversation as we explore the intersection of articism, sexism, and the power of palm-colored tears. Check out these videos. I will be right back.
Some very dangerous rhetoric that I've seen come from white women, right, is that whenever women of color exceeds or supersedes them, sorry, that's the correct word, they always say the same thing, that they're biologically a man, they're transgender, they're something along those lines, right? It happened to Serena Williams when she became untouchable in Wimbledon. People were like, no, she's a man, she takes testosterone, what. That girl had to fight to prove that she's a woman, simply because she was untouchable and she was that good. Same thing happened to Caster Semenya, where she literally had to pull her pants down in front of a doctor to prove that she is biologically a woman. Same thing's happening to Imane now with the this is boxing now at the Olympics. And I've seen the rhetoric start now the same with Simone Biles as well, with her last Olympic vault, where she scored a very high number and she took gold again, right? The same thing's gonna happen. I want to say, I don't want to speak it over her and say the same thing's gonna happen, but I know that some white woman is gonna cry her white woman tears and say that Simone Biles is biologically a man, and the whole world is gonna go ape shit, simply because that woman is so successful and so good at what she does that other people cannot compete. White women have always used their vulnerability to get their way. And women of color never had that choice, never had that option. They always had to be strong, right? And now that it comes to competing on a level playing field, white women cannot compete to women of color who had to endure all of this shit their whole lives. And now they pull stunts like this, saying that these people are transgender, or they take testosterone, or they're biologically not a man. And it is absolutely pathetic.
I think it's painfully obvious that somebody needs to have a conversation about this Olympic controversy. For those of you who did not know, this is Angela and this is Imane. At this very moment, Imane is being depicted on social media as a trans man villain who beat up this poor woman who's trained her whole life to go to the Olympics. Conservative media will tell you that this is a trans boogeyman smirking menacingly at this poor victim. Y'all are weird. Y'all are weird. This is a woman with a biological medical condition. Y'all are weird. After just a smidgen of research, I discovered that Imane has something called DSD. DSD standing for Difference of Sexual Development. To put this as simply and elementary as I possibly can, this means that at birth, Imane was born with the genetic composition of both male and female hormones. doctors. Imane was born, the doctors assigned her female, and she grew up as a girl. This is not little Timmy growing up as a boy and then being forced to transition by the liberal woke doctors. If you don't believe me, Imane's country that she was born and raised in, it is illegal to transition. Illegal. Not only does this conversation blow the top off of so many trans debates about being born a trans person, because in this case, Imane is being born directly in the middle and assigned female at birth because of literally a medical condition as a biological woman, causing her to have masculine traits, masculine features, masculine composition. She is being labeled as some trans domestic violence advocate. You have to be out of your mind. She is an Olympic boxer. She is training her ass off along with all of the other girls, including her competitor, Angela. Yet here she is, still being publicly smeared by conservative online media as though she was incubated in some democratic lab by evil scientists sent to destroy women's sports. You're a weirdo. You are a weirdo. And don't worry, I see all of y'all out there who are cool with the progressive movement, down with the LGBT. Oh, but this has just gone too far. This fabricated lie being spread on social media is just one step too far. Trans agenda being pushed again. Much love. Have a good day.
Serena Williams was accused of being a man after outperforming a white lady. Caster Semenya was accused of being a man after outperforming a white lady. Imane Khelif is accused of being a man after outperforming a white lady. Take what you want from this, but I see it as it is.
So I went down a rabbit hole so deep that I got a little lost and I was like, how did I get here? Okay, so this is Imane Khelif, and she's an Algerian boxer and Olympian. She, I think it was like less than 50 seconds. She hit really hard. Because of the strength of which she hit, people determined that she is clearly transgender or clearly a man. We should put her in the ring with Mike Tyson and see how it feels. The internet is really mean. So when I go down a rabbit hole, I always try to collect as much information that is close to being factual and I can look at it as a whole, and it's always with the intent to understand. What I have found is that every mother, brother, sister, lizard, hamster, uncle, whoever it is, all have an opinion on chromosomes. There are people who are like, yeah, well, I'm not looking at her masculine features. I don't care about that. I'm just looking at her chromosomes because it was proven that she has XY chromosomes. Except in biology, in middle school, they don't really teach you about epigenetics or genetic disorders or mutated genes. There are females with medical conditions where it affects their hormones. I have Hashimoto's. My thyroid loves me. PCOS, perimenopausal, your pituitary gland, your adrenal glands. There's a number of PMDD. There's so much. We go through a lot, okay? So did you know that you can be a biological female with a genetic disorder with XY chromosomes? It doesn't make you a man. It just makes you a woman with a genetic disorder. It's as simple as that. Oh, and there's a lot of people who would say it doesn't matter that she was born a biological female and grew up a girl, like there's pictures and everything else, and going through puberty as a girl and into womanhood. It was the puberty part that they all have a problem and an issue with, because they would say, well, then she has an unfair advantage because nobody else went through puberty with elevated levels of testosterone to affect their muscle mass and bone density, right? But here's the thing. This is not her injecting herself with hormones. This is her body naturally producing that, if it is. And that just means that she is a woman designed her own way. It's not a choice. To quote Lady Gaga, she was born this way.
Coco Gauff, who sadly lost her second round match during the Paris Olympics, was reduced to tears during the match due to an on-court argument with the chair umpire. So here's what happened in case you missed it. Coco, who had already lost the first set, was down in the second set, was serving. Begic returned the serve, and the return seemed to hit the baseline, though the line judge called it out. And because the line judge called it out, Coco did not make a play on the ball, and she did not try to return the ball back. However, the chair umpire believed that the ball was in, and so she awarded the point to Donna. Coco was obviously upset because the line judge had called the shot out, which is why she didn't play the ball again, but the chair umpire didn't want to hear anything about it. Coco said to the chair umpire, "I never argue these calls, but he called it out before I hit the ball. It's not even a perception, it's the rules. I always have to advocate for myself." This is not the first time this has happened to Coco, and it's not the first time this has happened to Coco on this specific court, which is where they played the French Open. Now, lots of other tournaments will use automated reviews. They will not have line judges so that it's for sure in or for sure out, but because they play on clay at Roland Garros, they do use line judges, so it is up to the line judge's discretion as to whether something is in or out. Now, yes, was Coco struggling prior to this call being made? Of course, she had already lost the first set, and had she actually won that point, I don't know that she would have ended up winning the match, but she did have a point. She had a right to be upset, and it's frustrating that her Olympics, at least her singles run, had to end this way.
When the biggest controversy and witch hunt to come out of the Paris 2024 Olympics is aimed at Algerian boxer Imane Khelif, instead of, an actual convicted child who's been allowed to compete at the Olympics, then there is something very, very wrong. Especially when you see people like J.K. Rowling, who for years has been trying to legitimize her bigotry towards the trans community by stating that the only reason she does it is because she's such an ardent defender of women and children. Not sure what the connection is there, but that's always her defense. Has had a lot to say about this and hasn't uttered a word of protest about this. A number of high-profile men have joined Rowling in their attacks against Khelif, including Elon Musk, professional terrible person Logan Paul, even though neither of those men have made any kind of statement about the aforementioned child hating at the Olympics and have never actually shown any kind of support for women's sport in general, but they're choosing this moment. Now, go on a little bit of a ride with me through the details. As it turns out, Khelif is not transgender. Khelif is biologically female and was born as such. As mentioned, Khelif is from Algeria. It is illegal to transition in Algeria. Not possible. Also, not relevant. So what did they do when their terrible takes on trans people competing in sport fell apart? Well, they pivoted and they doubled down. Sure, now they could concede that Khelif is biologically female, but they went searching for this one test she took where she showed higher levels of testosterone, which was a test administered by a federation which has now been completely discredited, actually has links to organized crime and heroin trafficking in Russia, and is not considered a legitimate source by the IOC. So there is actually nothing to determine whether or not Khelif has these higher levels of testosterone they're all pointing towards, which could disqualify her from competing. But I took you on this journey of details just to show you sort of the path into my point. Because the point of these attacks is not based on whether or not Khelif is transgender. She isn't. Or whether or not she has unfair levels of testosterone in her system. There's nothing credible to say that she does. The point here is humiliation. And humiliation for two intended audiences: women and transgender people. Bigots will always tell on themselves. They use every opportunity to say the quiet part out loud, but they will show their bigotry through their inconsistency. Great defender of children, J.K. Rowling has no issue with a child competing at the Olympics, but has all the time in the world to defend women and children by attacking a transgender woman who didn't turn out to be transgender, but as a biological female has higher levels of testosterone, except, whoops, maybe she doesn't, because that's based on an unfounded and non-credible source. It's not about the group they're defending and everything about the group they're aiming at. Just as these men are coming out to defend the credibility and purity of women's sports when they have never taken an issue or interest with women's sports previously. And those same men are adding a layer of their heroism by saying, well, it's about a man hitting a woman, when it isn't.
But also, let's look at their other messaging, which is broadly misogynistic and takes no interest in women who are actually victims of violence. They will always say the quiet part out loud, and the goal is to intimidate and humiliate this one person for all of us to pay attention to. They are the example to us all.
Now, as a black person, it's both exhausting and validating to see palm color people finally acknowledging the toxic dynamic of palm color tears. For far too long, black people have been gaslighted, dismissed, and discredited when they try to speak out against racism and sexism. The fact that a palm color man is calling out this dangerous rhetoric is a step in the right direction. But we can't forget that this is a conversation that black people have been having for years. Black people have been saying that when a black person excels, when they try to assert themselves, when they take up space, they are met with accusations of being biologically male, transgender, or somehow less than women. It's infuriating to see how quickly black and people of color's accomplishments are diminished, how quickly our womanhood is questioned, but it's also heartening to see some palm color people recognizing their own privilege and speaking out against this toxic behavior. But let's be clear here, this is not about palm color people saving black people, saving us, or validating our experiences. This is about them recognizing their own complicity in systemic oppression and taking steps to dismantle it. Now, Imane Khelif is just the latest addition to a long and disturbing list of black and people of color who have been accused of being biologically male, transgender, or somehow less than women simply because they dared to surpass their palm color counterparts. From Serena Williams to Caster Semenya and others, the pattern is clear. When a woman of color excels, when they break barriers and shatter glass ceilings, they are met with vicious attempts to delegitimize their achievements and erase their identities. It's not about their performance, it's not about their skills, and it's certainly not about their gender. It's about the fact that they are women of color who refuse to be held back and refuse to be silenced and who refuse to be erased. Imane Khelif's story is a painful reminder that racism and sexism are still deeply entrenched in our society, that the intersection of these biases can be deadly, and that the price of success for black and women of color is often too high to pay. But it's also a testament to the strength and resilience of women like Imane, who continue to rise above the hate, continue to break down barriers, and continue to inspire a new generation of leaders. Now, online reactions were swift, relentless, and ill-informed within hours of Imane's victory on Thursday over Italy's Angela Carini. Unfounded claims that Algerian Olympic boxer Imane Khelif is actually a man or biological male swayed online, amplified by likes of Elon Musk, J.K. Rowling, Logan Paul, and Caitlyn Jenner. It all started when the fight stopped, after just 46 seconds with a punch to Carini's nose. Now, the extremely brief bout, plus Carini's refusal to shake hands with her fellow welterweight afterward, fueled speculation they had not been fairly matched. It was the purest form of evil, wrote Logan Paul, a noted and notorious influencer, perhaps best known for tasing unalived animals and being temporarily suspended by YouTube after posting video in a forest in Japan near what seemed to be an unalived body on X, who seemed to think the Olympics had just showcased a man beating up a woman. Paul has since deleted the post. I don't think this man gets to decide what is morally right or wrong. Now, Rowling calling Khelif a male who was enjoying the distress of a woman he just punched in the head. Carini later apologized for snubbing Khelif, saying she was angry because her Olympics had gone up in smoke. Now, she said the resulting controversy has made her sad. I don't have anything against Khelif. Actually, if I were to meet her again, I would embrace her, she said. Now, similar allegations have been leveled up at another boxer, Taiwan's Lin Yu-ting. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. Now, note that neither Khelif nor Lin identify as transgender or as having been born with a male body. According to a fact check from GLAAD, there is no indication Khelif has ever identified as transgender or intersex. Nor is there any evidence to support the online speculation that Khelif has experienced differences in S development, the DSD, a group of rare conditions that can cause women to have XY chromosomes and blood testosterone levels in the male range. Now, the allegations against Khelif were frequently framed as a call to protect the integrity of women's sports and, by extension, the women themselves. But that's an inauthentic argument, according to Michelle Donnelly, an associate professor of sport management and a gender issues researcher at Brock University. Now, she sees it as an excuse to push a transphobic agenda. It's so obviously not about women's sport at all. It's about really forwarding a trans-exclusionary, transphobic agenda. She said, if people were truly interested in fairness and women's sport, they would be advocating for more media coverage, for more resources invested in women's sport, more opportunities. Now, Olympic boxer Imane Khelif said the wave of hateful scrutiny she has faced over misconceptions about her gender harms human dignity, and she called for an end to bullying athletes after being greatly affected by the international backlash against her. The Algerian athlete spoke about her Olympic experience on Sunday night in an interview with SNTV, a sports video partner of the Associated Press. I send a message to all the people of the world to uphold the Olympic principles and the Olympic Charter, to refrain from bullying all athletes because this has effects, massive effects, Khelif said in Arabic. It can destroy people, it can analyze people's thoughts, spirit, and mind. It can divide people, and because of that, I ask them to refrain from bullying. The victories of Khelif and fellow boxer, the Taiwan boxer in the ring in Paris, have become one of the biggest stories of the Paris Games. Both women have clinched their first Olympic medals, even as they have faced online abuse based on unsubstantiated claims about their gender, drawing them into a wider divide over changing attitudes toward gender identity and regulations in sports. We have finally come to the end of the video, but what do my viewers have to say? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.